The only very safe fat, beef fat, lamb fat, butter, and coconut oil have only maybe 2% polyunsaturated, where olive oil and I think macadamia is another one that has a moderate amount, but they still have several times as much unsaturated as coconut and butter.
You've been talking about the benefits of coconut oil way before Bruce Fife produced his books on the coconut oil miracle.
Yeah, in the 1970s, I saw a study in which I think it was 15 groups of several rats in each group were put on a lifetime diet of low-fat diet, high-fat diet, and medium-fat. And in each of those, there was the low-fat diet. The fat was only, I think it was corn oil or some highly unsaturated oil, as well as only a saturated fat. The high-fat animals, the same thing. They were given either pure unsaturated fat, pure saturated fat, or different blends of the mixture. And at the end of their life, their tissues were analyzed, and the obese animals were the ones which had the high ratio of unsaturated to saturated fat.
Isn't that interesting?
And
wow.
It wasn't at all the quantity of fat they ate, so that the low-fat eaters who got the corn oil were overweight, high body fat content. The high-fat eaters, which had only the saturated fat, were lean.
I just think that's so interesting because so many people are learning about the benefit of saturated fats now, but it's taken years for this to come forward.
Yeah, I think it was 1996. In the early 90s, some millionaire in Nebraska started buying full-page newspaper ads saying that Oreo cookies and many other traditional good products were killing people because they had coconut oil in them. And we had been using some very nice products, for example, tortilla chips that were fried in coconut oil. And we ate huge amounts of those, and the more we ate, the leaner we got. And after his national campaign against tropical saturated fats, all of these products across the country disappeared. And that really annoyed me, so I wrote that article in 1996 on coconut oil. And I think that was what started a lot of the people selling it and talking about its benefits. The most recent thing that is happening with coconut oil is it's being used to treat Alzheimer's patients. There's a very good website. A woman is now using MCT, medium-chain triglycerides, which are extracted from coconut oil, combined with coconut oil. It makes it less irritating to the intestine, but a lot of people are getting good results in treating Alzheimer's. Previously, high saturated fat diets had been used to treat epilepsy, brain cancer, and degenerative liver diseases, hepatitis and cirrhosis.
My mom died in 2008 of Alzheimer's, and I wish I had put it together about the coconut oil and some of the other things that you write about with that and found out about with that. But at least the information's out there now for others who have family members, friends, or associates who are stricken with the disease.
My website has an article on, 2 articles, I think it is, on Alzheimer's, and it gives a lot of attention to the role of polyunsaturated fats in causing the brain degeneration. And there's another article that covers the role of polyunsaturated fats in scrape-ear bovine spongiform encephalitis, mad cow disease. The polyunsaturated fats, I think, have a major role in all of the degenerative brain diseases, including Huntington's, Lou Gehrig's disease, and other special types of degeneration.
I know that you have a very different view about taking flaxseed oil and DHA And I'd like you to talk about it because in the anti-aging industry, it is heavily touted, and also by Dr. Oz and even Suzanne Summers in her book Knockout, and a lot of her investigative work talk to people in the orthomolecular field that are proposing flaxseed oil use and ingestion and fish oils. I want you to share your perspective about them for the public to have a rethinking about it.
The way a lot of these people are reasoning is to identify the fish oils, DHA and EPA, as essential fatty acids, or the omega-3 oils as essential fatty acids, and then say, since they are essential nutrients, they can't be toxic. Some of the articles on my website deal first with that issue of essentiality and show that the basic studies that are still being cited were done in 1929 by George Burr and his wife. And at the time they published their results, they neglected to mention several very well-known articles were published in the same journal they published in, studies showing that those very fats that the Burrs were claiming to be essential nutrients were actually life-shortening ingredients in the diet, that animals lived longer. One study 2 years before they published showed that a fat-free diet eliminated almost all cancers in their experimental animals, as well as slowing the aging process. But they just ignored the contrary evidence and pronounced that linoleic and linolenic acid were essential to prevent a certain disease in rats, scaly tail disease and bloody urine and such. And it was about 16, 17 years later that Roger Williams' lab in Texas, they had been studying the B vitamins, and they recognized the Burrs rat disease as a vitamin B6 deficiency disease. And vitamin B6 wasn't even known at the time the Burrs were giving their rats the specialized diet. So Roger Williams' lab gave exactly the same diet the Burrs had used and created the deficiency disease, essential fatty acid deficiency symptoms. And then without adding any fats at all, they gave the rats vitamin B6 and cured the Burrs deficiency disease.
You know that the FDA took B6 off the market, that most people can't sell it anymore individually?
No, I didn't know that, but no one talks about the disproof of the Burrs evidence and how they try to bring the issue up to date, claiming that there is such a thing as an essential fatty acid, is to cite 2 or 3 individuals, babies and old people who have been on intravenous feeding. And at the time these human studies were done with intravenous feeding, intravenous nutrition didn't include zinc, which is absolutely, it's been known for 70 years to be an essential nutrient, but it wasn't in the intravenous feeding preparations, even for babies, until sometime in the late 1970s it came to be used. So again, what they're doing is confirming the work of Roger Williams' group that other deficiencies are created when you give them a very limited diet. George Burr himself demonstrated, he put some of his fatty acid deficient rats under a bell jar to measure their oxygen consumption. And he saw that they were burning fuel and consuming oxygen at a rate 50% higher than the rats on his supposedly adequate diet. And he didn't seem to understand that what the fats were doing was lowering the metabolic rate so drastically, suppressing thyroid function, that they could get along on a much lower calorie intake. And so they didn't need vitamins so crucially as when the metabolic rate was running as it should.
And what does that mean to us?
That if you poison your thyroid gland, you don't